Hi.
Hola.
Hi, hier ist Messi 15.
This is Michael Bradley.
Hey, I'm Memphis.
Hey.
Hola. Hello.
I'm here with soccer.com.
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 And I'm talking with my friends soccer.com.
See you soon.
Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the Adidas Messi 15.1 in the latest Solar Slime, Solar Red, and Black colorway. Now, as you guys can see, it does come in the special Messi box, which has basically a half lid and then a full lid. Inside the box, obviously it's decorated with some quotes and stuff. You guys have seen the box before. It's nothing too fancy. But inside they do include a string bag. The string bag is black in color with black strings, has the Messi logo in white there on the front, as well as this kind of DNA looking graphic that kind of matches the Messi frame on the shoe. And then on the back, it's black in color with the Adidas football logo in white there at the top. Other than that, all you're going to find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at the latest Messi 15.1 colorway. That is definitely very, very bright. It's the brightest Messi colorway that we've seen so far for the Messi 15.1. I personally don't mind it, but I know people are going to have mixed opinions. In this video, we are, of course, going to take a closer look at the colorway itself. We're going to talk performance, tech specs, take a look at the weight of the shoe, as well as talk about how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $200 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's take a closer look at the colorway. Now, as you guys can see, this features pretty much the exact same graphics and same patterns on the upper that we saw on the previous Messi colorway. And if you actually look closely, and it's not something I even realized until I actually had the shoe in person, is that this shoe basically incorporates the same colors as the previous colorway of the Messi 15.1, just on different parts of the shoe. You have Solar Slime, which does look a little bit different on this latest one. It has more of a yellowish tinge to it as opposed to being more of a true lime green like you saw in the previous colorway. And then of course you have Solar Red, which on this shoe looks more red, and on this shoe it definitely looks orange, and of course black as the other accent color. The combination of lime green, orange, and black, or lime green, red and black, depending on how you want to look at it, is not the greatest color combo by a lot of people's opinion, I guess. But for me, I definitely like the look of this shoe. I don't think it looks bad. I'm not crazy about the Messi logo on the front still. That just looks like a little bit of an afterthought in my opinion. But the overall appearance of the Messi 15.1, I definitely don't mind anymore. I know it's a controversial look. Not everybody likes the look of this shoe, period, no matter what colorway variation they put out. But for me, I don't mind these, and if you want a brightly colored Messi 15.1, this is definitely the one to go for. So again, you have the solar green across the majority of the upper, and then obviously from the heel into the tongue area as well, you have this kind of black stripe design that gets thicker and thicker, or I guess more and more spread out as you get kind of closer to the toe of the shoe. It's got the snake scale look to the actual upper, which I guess kind of plays a part in the overall look of the shoe. It's got the fade in the actual Messi frame system, which is kind of neat. The Adidas logo right there on the heel, and you have the Adidas logo on both heels. One doesn't have the Messi logo. That's just because this variation does have the Messi logo right there on the front. It's got the black Adidas branding right there on the tongue, and then the sole plate and stud pattern looks pretty cool as well. So let me know your opinions on this colorway down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the tech specs so we can learn a little bit more about the overall performance. As far as performance is concerned, the Messi 15.1 is actually a pretty good shoe, but it lacks popularity for a couple different reasons. The main reason I think is that the shoe is not the most appealing to a lot of people. Most people just straight up don't like how they look, and that's perfectly understandable. You don't expect somebody to spend $200+ on a pair of shoes that they think are ugly. The second reason why I don't think these are the most popular is because it's kind of an oddball in terms of the types of features that it incorporates all on one shoe. It doesn't really compare to anything else out there on the market. It doesn't offer anything that I think people are actually looking for in a soccer shoe. And it's just really, really strange to me that Adidas would take such a big name like Messi. He is arguably the biggest name in soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, and make a shoe like this that is so controversial. You think they would kind of take the best of the best and really their latest technologies and throw that out there as the Messi signature model, but instead they've given us this, which, like I said, is not a bad shoe. It's just a weird shoe, I guess is the best way to put it. So obviously full synthetic. The upper at the front part, so the part here with this snake scale graphic to it, this is Messi Touch Synthetic, very clever name there. And it's similar to Hybrid Touch, which we have seen in the past from Adidas F50 models, although I would argue this is a little bit thicker. It's very soft, it's very, very flexible, and feels really good on feet. The tongue is a cheaper synthetic, and obviously the part that's covered by this Messi frame is a cheaper synthetic as well, but it's far enough back to where it really doesn't have too much of an impact on the overall touch. So like I said, in terms of just overall touch on the ball, it's soft, it's thin, but does have some padding to it. It's not quite as thin as what we've seen from F50 models in the past. I wouldn't say it's leather-like in any way, maybe a little bit in terms of how flexible it is. But again, as far as touch is concerned, it's a thinner synthetic that's fairly heavily padded, that isn't really thick, it isn't really thin, it's kind of right there in the middle, which again, it's just kind of an oddball type shoe that doesn't really compare to anything else. As far as this Messi frame is concerned, this is one of those elements that I really don't think has much of an impact on the overall performance. I really do feel like you could cut this away entirely and it wouldn't change the performance of this shoe in any way in terms of responsiveness and general lockdown. But what this Messi frame does do is provide a lot of extra grip on the ball, and that it is actually made from a rubber material. Plus, it adds a lot of extra bulk because it's sitting on top of a synthetic upper. So you have an extra layer of material here that, like I said, makes this shoe feel more clunky on feet than I think it should be. It's not a bad thing by any means, but it's one of those things that I think when a lot of people try them on for the first time, it just feels like an afterthought. It doesn't feel like it's supposed to be there. Like I said, it works with the lacing system. So you see it wraps from the base of the sole, kind of runs into these top 4 lace holes here. So technically when you pull the lace holes, it's pulling on these cages, but the cages line up perfectly with the actual upper. There's lace holes in both pieces, as you guys can see. So when you actually pull on the laces, it's not really pulling these cages in, it's just kind of holding them in place against the upper. Again, not really doing anything. So there's not actually any tension on this cage at all, which is part of the reason why I said I really don't think it has any impact on performance. It just adds bulk around the ankle and does provide extra grip on the ball, which I actually kind of like for shooting, just because this is a part of the foot that is going to be making contact with the ball when you hit it. But for the most part, just as kind of a more fluid touch, you don't get that with this shoe. It's very inconsistent. This feels a lot different than the tongue, feels a lot different than the parts covered with this Messi frame. It's, like I said, kind of an oddball type shoe in terms of feel. It's not really thin. It's thin at the front kind of, but it's kind of bulky at the ankle and midfoot. It's just unusual. If you like what I'm describing to you, it is a shoe that you may want to consider. I personally like wearing this shoe. When Adidas kind of eliminated all their lines and introduced the Ace 15.1, X 15.1, and this shoe right here, the Messi 15.1, this is actually my favorite of the bunch. The new Ace models are really, really good. I think better than anything Adidas had launched prior to it. But like I said, this is one of those shoes that I really like, but it's hard for me to recommend just based on what it has to offer. It's one of those things where I can describe it to you, and if it sounds good and you like what you're hearing, maybe give it a try. Otherwise, it's definitely worth staying away, I would say, for most people. It does have a low cut in the heel, as you can see. Internal plastic heel counter. It's got a synthetic suede liner in the heel with a decent amount of padding. Comfort is not an issue, as well as fit, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. Insole fully removable. You can see it features a synthetic suede liner on top, which I really like. And it's just a single layer of foam, similar to the Comfort insoles that we used to see on the F50 Adizero line. And then, of course, moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern, it features a layout that, again, very reminiscent of what we've seen prior from Adidas with the F50 line. The sole plate, while it looks very interesting with all these cutouts, there's actually a plastic plate underneath, then they have the material covering it, and then the stud plate goes on top. So there's not actual cutouts here where your foot's actually going to sink through. It is actually a relatively thick and relatively stiff sole plate. You just can't see the extra layer of plastic here. It's behind all of these cutouts and all the material covering that up. But the stud pattern itself, it is FGAG from Adidas. as we see with all their current models. Again, this is a layout that we've seen from Adidas in the past as FG only, and this does perform really well on firm natural grass. On artificial grass, it does feel more like an FG stud pattern in my opinion, but you definitely can get away with using it. Obviously, Adidas is saying you can use it on artificial grass, so it's not something you should be too concerned with. And if you do play on both natural and artificial playing surfaces and only want to buy one pair of shoes, the Messi 15.1, as well as really all the current Adidas models, are FG AG, so you can get away with buying one pair as opposed to an FG pair and an AG pair, which is kind of a cool solution. But again, I really don't view this as a true artificial grass stud pattern. It doesn't have the same performance as, say, a Nike AG stud pattern does, and it doesn't have the same type of feel either. The stud pattern, triangular studs in certain areas. You have some triangle base studs that kind of round out to conical studs at the tip. Again, it's the same layout we've been seeing from Adidas for quite some time now, just with some different variation in the shape of the studs, but ultimately the performance is quite good on both natural and artificial playing surfaces, and you shouldn't really have any issues with the traction. So that's pretty much it as far as performance is concerned. I know it's kind of an all over the place type of shoe. It's very difficult to describe, so if that was a little bit confusing for you, I apologize, but like I mentioned, if what I described sounds interesting or good to you, then yes, the Messi 15.1 is a shoe that I can recommend. In terms of weight, the Messi 15.1 is pretty light both in hand as well as on feet, but for the sake of this video, we're going to weigh them for you today in real time using this scale, just so we can see exactly how much they weigh. So keep in mind this is a brand new pair in a size 9 US. We're going to throw them on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.75 ounces, the equivalent of 220 grams. So for whatever reason, this particular colorway seems to weigh a little bit less than previous ones. As far as what they've changed to make them lighter, honestly, I don't know. They appear to be the same. They feel the same. The construction looks to be the same. But I guess if it is important to you, these are 0.2, 0.3 ounces lighter than previous colorways were for whatever reason. Is that a noticeable amount of weight? No. Should you buy this colorway over an older one if it's on sale and you just want the shoe in general, you don't care too much about the colorway? No, but again, it's worth noting that this one does seem to be a little bit lighter than previous colorways were for whatever reason. But like I said, this is a relatively lightweight shoe, both in hand as well as on feet. It's got a nice locked in, very solid and secure sensation on your foot. It doesn't feel minimal by any means, but like I said, it's not a heavy shoe either. So again, kind of an oddball of features. You probably wouldn't expect them to be as light as they are based on the construction and just the way the shoe feels on your feet. But if you're looking for that lightweight feel, you will get it from the Messi 15.1. All right, so here is a look at the Messi 15.1s on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock laces that come with the shoes. And on my right foot, I have a pair of black and neon yellow chevron SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. Find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they're actually pretty comfortable from right out of the box. The Messi Touch synthetic at the front of the shoe is soft, it's very flexible. The only noticeable stiffness you're gonna find from the upper is the rest of the synthetic. The tongue is nice and soft, but this part with the Messi frame definitely does have some stiffness to it. Depending on how they fit you, you may notice a little bit of pain right here where it does transition from soft Messi Touch synthetic to this firmer rubber Messi frame, but for the most part, I personally didn't have too many issues as far as discomfort is concerned. The sole plate's a little bit stiff at first, but that breaks in relatively quickly, and for the most part, it's a relatively comfortable shoe from right out of the box. In terms of how they actually fit width-wise, I know you guys are probably looking at how these fit me right now and saying, oh my gosh, they look like they're about to explode, but the shoe itself isn't actually narrow. I don't necessarily have wide feet. The thing with the Messi shoe is that the sides of the shoe are very shallow. They don't come up very high, which means that there's just going to be a bigger space, a bigger gap from lace hole to lace hole on either side of the shoe. These are not particularly tight on me through the midfoot at all. But with that said, because of this kind of shallow sidewall situation that this shoe has, it's not going to be best suited for wider foot types. And there's also not much stretch through the midfoot either, just because you do have that Messi frame system that isn't going to give at all as far as stretching is concerned. So as long as you don't have excessively wide feet, these shoes will fit you just fine. And I'd say that they'll fit most people for the most part. It's a relatively comfortable shoe, like I mentioned. As far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. All right, guys, that's it for my review of the Adidas Messi 15.1. If you guys are interested in more info, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find the high quality images of this exact pair that I took myself that'll give you a better idea as to how these actually do look in person, as well as buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick them up below their normal $200 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding the Messi 15.1, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.